Hi, my name is Robi. I'm the Associate Pastor at Nexus United Church of Christ. I'm excited to be talking with you today about Noah's Ark. We are in August, and so Nexus is having our own Vacation Bible School. And so we take a look at different parables throughout our faith, and we have a little fun with it. Of course, we have our video version wherever you are watching this. Thank you, as always. We start with Noah's Ark, like I said, where we see two kinds of gods, one that is a punisher and one that is a loving God that loves us all unconditionally. And because of this, the writing can send us some mixed messages, and we wonder who God actually is in all of this. Our reading will be condensed today, but you will get the main points. So, of course, I welcome you. Welcome to people of all faiths and all backgrounds, to people of all racial and ethnic origins. Welcome to people of all sexual orientations, genders, and identities, to families of every shape and configuration. All of God's children are welcomed, celebrated, and blessed. Welcome to people who have been hurt by religion misused. Your pain is valid and real. You deserve better. You deserve healing. We hope you find some here. Welcome to people with questions and doubts. Questions and doubts are the doorway to any faith that is alive and growing. And as always, our gathering is about God's great love for each of us and all of us, whoever we are and wherever we are on our journey. Amen. Like I said before, the reading will be greatly condensed, but you'll get the main points in this. The Lord said, I am going to bring flood waters on the earth to destroy all life under the heavens, every creature that has the breath of life in it. Everything on earth will perish, but I will establish my covenant with you, and you will enter the ark. You are to bring into the ark 2 of all living creatures, male and female, to keep them alive with you. For 40 days, the flood kept coming on the earth, and as the waters increased, they lifted the ark high above the earth. Every living thing on the face of the earth was wiped out, people and animals and the creatures that move along the ground, and the birds were wiped from the earth. Only Noah was left, and those with him in the ark. The Lord said, I set my rainbow in the cloud, and it shall be for the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. So within this story, God is switching up quite a bit, from the fine details to the purpose of why God is sending the flood. God doesn't exactly seem to be sticking to his word. God tells Noah how he cannot stand his creations because of all the violence that has happened, but he still wants to save Noah and a pair of animals and his family. So God doesn't want all creations wiped out. And then God says to actually save 7 pairs of animals, whereas previously he only mentioned 1 pair. The story also changes in how many days it rained. At first it was 40, and then a few verses later it was 150 days. Noah is also apparently 600 years old. So God wipes out the majority of life by sending this flood. Noah, his family, and a few animals are safe. And strangely, the story ends with God saying, that wasn't me. I'm so sorry, it won't happen again. The Bible has so many readings that can be taken out of context, but even within context, reading this when I was younger, I was never quite sure what message I was supposed to land on. If you take a look at any poem or novel, there is quite obviously a bit of symbolism in it. All storytellers rely on these types of tools to get their message across. In fact, I would argue that the goal of most stories is that they are written with the purpose of trying to convey something more than appears upon the first reading. We are all taught in English class to look between the lines and find something deeper within the text. In this way, the Bible is no different than a novel in that the authors wanted to provoke thought and discussion in addition to documenting what they were experiencing. Symbolism and metaphors make stories even richer than what they would be had the authors only stuck to factual evidence. There was no understanding of science at the time this was written. There wasn't even a hint of why something like a natural disaster would happen. So if there was a flood that killed a majority of living beings, you could conclude that this is happening because God is angry. Why else would there be this terrible tragedy that no one could stop? Because the people of this time didn't have all the facts, these stories they told helped them make sense of the world around them. These stories weren't created for the purpose of being written down. They were more created to be told around campfires, dinner tables, and engaging with each other as they were told. They weren't made for the purpose of physical text. They were made to be remembered and passed on. The authors did not focus on getting every single detail right, perfectly like a journalist would. But they still felt compelled to write something. Their goal was to simply get the message across. We see this in the New Testament. Each of the 4 Gospels tells the same stories, but with their own variations and perspectives. How God is portrayed changes dramatically within just a few chapters in Genesis. However, it is not God who changes within the story of Noah's Ark, but the perspective of the storyteller. And as the author's understanding of God changes, so does our understanding of who God is as the readers. What is not within this parable is Noah trying to rebuild his life after the flood had taken everything he knew and completely ruined what he had. Sure, his family and some animals were safe, but his community would have been decimated. Things are not the same in times like those when our realities are turned upside down. But then the earth dries up and Noah finally concludes that it is safe to come out of the ark. And that's when the symbolism of the rainbow comes in. When Noah sees this rainbow, we can start to understand of how this idea of who God is shifts. Whereas God was seen as an evil ruler that turned off his love, God is now understood to be a God that is faithful to us, his creations. This is a parable from the very beginning of our faith. However, messages and beliefs get recycled and resurrected. As we know, even the foundation of our faith can get lost with time if we lose sight of what this is all about. When we skip forward to Jesus' time, Jesus challenges the concept of God being a ruler, but introduces God as Abba, a parent. Abba who is merciful and faithful to you. Abba who encourages forgiveness of others and redemption for those that trespass you. Abba who makes all things possible. Jesus believes in the rainbow rather than the God of the flood. We are challenged and encouraged to do the same, even when we receive mixed messages of who God is. As we touched on last week, God has been seen in so many different lights. It boils down to this: to have faith in God is to have faith in a world that revolves around love. The loving God is the one that dries up the flood and reminds us of his undying promise that we are always held in his favor. Amen. Our litany is a litany of God's promise. The group response, if you wish to participate either out loud or within your mind, is "May we feel your promise." Will you pray with me? God of stormy days, sunny days, and any kind of day in between, we celebrate and recognize the love you have for each of us, your beloved children. We know that when there are floods in our life, you are there to show us the rainbow. We are grateful for how you are patient and work with us through our doubts. When we are uncertain, may we feel your promise. When we are recovering, may we feel your promise. When we question your faithfulness, may we feel your promise. When we look for your rainbow, may we feel your promise. When we need a reminder, may we feel your promise. God who holds us in an unbreakable love, may we feel your promise when we need to feel hope in our lives. Though our message of faith gets lost from time to time, we know that your love is constant. We praise you in the Spirit of Jesus, who teaches us that you are a loving parent. Amen. I hope you have a safe and blessed week. I'll see you next week.